Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest local news, including a serious motorcycle accident in Shelton this morning and much more. Frank Renito has your forecast, and later on a Nutmeg Sports Update. Donald Lang joins us to take a look back on this day in history, and later in the show we'll preview the front pages of our community newspapers this week. But first, Shelton police say a motorcyclist was taken to the hospital this morning with serious injuries after an accident near 122 River Road. Now, this happened around 6:45 this morning on Route 110. The accident involved a motor vehicle and a motorcycle. The operator of the motorcycle was transported to Bridgeport Hospital with what police called serious injuries. Now, that area of Route 110 was blocked off this morning from Grove Street to Belmont Avenue, and the Shelton Police Department Accident Reconstruction Team are investigating. They're asking anyone who may have witnessed the accident or has any information to contact them at 203-924-1544. And an incident that put the Royce of Trumbull apartment complex into police lockdown and stranded students at their school was a false alarm. That according to Trumbull police spokesman Douglas Smith. Now, shortly before 1 in the afternoon yesterday, Trumbull police received word from another law enforcement agency that a woman was being held hostage in one of the apartments by an armed man. Police checked the information provided and learned that the man was also a fugitive. Trumbull police, assisted by the Southwest Regional Emergency Response Team, closed the apartment complex and established a perimeter around the building. Police evacuated the nearby apartments in the complex for the safety of other residents and made numerous attempts to contact those in the apartment. Now, after police failed to contact the apartment's occupants, the emergency response team entered the unit at about 5:30 p.m. but found it empty. Now, that lockdown at the apartment complex has been lifted and residents were allowed to return to their homes. The investigation is continuing and police are attempting to locate that unidentified woman who made the initial call in order to verify that she is in fact safe and unharmed. Now, during this incident, Trumbull police were assisted by Bridgeport police and police dogs from Fairfield and Shelton. Well, in other news, a Stratford man died on Tuesday morning after the motorcycle he was riding was struck by a car in Bridgeport. Bridgeport police say 28-year-old Jeremy Ragsdale of Stratford was riding a Honda CBR 650 East on Capitol Avenue at about 1:20 in the morning on Tuesday, September 11th, when he collided with a 2013 Nissan Altima driven by Mary Studioso Capiozella, who's 28 years old and lives in Fairfield. Police said that Studioso Capoziella's car was traveling north when she entered the Capitol Avenue intersection at Norman Street. Police said Ragsdale was taken to St. Vincent's Hospital, where he died just after 2 in the morning on Tuesday. Studioso Capiozella was transported to Bridgeport Hospital for treatment as well. Police are still investigating that crash. And state police and members of the statewide narcotics task force seized 1 kilogram of fentanyl during a traffic stop on I-95 in Old Lyme Wednesday afternoon. Now, the drugs have a street value of over $1 million, police said. Police pulled over a 2009 Honda Accord near exit 70 at 2:30 in the afternoon Wednesday after receiving information that there were illegal narcotics inside. Well, the driver of the car, Gabri Darlin Javier de la Paz, who's 26 years old, and his passenger, Alcedes Rafael Gomez Alba, who's 28 years old, both are from Rhode Island, consented to a vehicle search. With the help of a police canine, officers found 1 kilogram of fentanyl inside. Now, both men were charged with possession of narcotics greater than 1 ounce and possession of narcotics with intent to sell. They were both held in lieu of $500,000 bonds and are scheduled to appear in court this morning. And Ridgefield police reported a blue 2010 Audi A6 was stolen from the driveway of a Hessian Drive home sometime in the early morning hours of September 12th. Now, 2 other vehicles were also entered at another residence nearby, though police did not say if anything was taken. Again, Ridgefield police remind residents to lock their cars and remove any valuables. Anyone with information about the recent theft can contact the Ridgefield Police Department at 203-431-2797. And an impatient motorist disrupted the annual CT United ride and sent at least 1 rider to the hospital. That according to event organizer Fred Garrity. Now, the annual motorcycle ride, the largest annual 9/11 tribute in the state, runs through 10 towns in Fairfield County. Now in its 17th year, this year's ride attracted its largest turnout since 2011, with more than 2,500 bikes organized into a continuous pack that stretched for miles. Well, the turnout was second only to the 10th anniversary ride that drew about 3,000 people. people. Well, organizer Garrity said the ride had secured permits and police escort to roll nonstop and uninterrupted on its loop from Norwalk to Bridgeport. But as the riders passed through Monroe, a driver cut into the procession. Garrity said unfortunately someone didn't obey the law. They got tired of waiting and pulled out into a T intersection, forcing a motorcycle off of the road. That driver did receive a summons for failing to yield the right of way, but they also put a lot of the riders in jeopardy. Now, the rider had to be taken to the hospital, and that caused a 10-minute gap in the line of motorcycles as the riders behind the crash stopped to wait for police to arrive. Garrity said this caused a domino effect through Monroe, Trumbull, and Bridgeport as drivers waiting at intersections for ride to pass assumed the event was over and then resumed their normal traffic flow. Now, Garrity says he's already began to get in touch with law enforcement officials about conducting a traffic analysis to improve next year's ride. There's also a lot more on that story at TrumbleTimes.com. But we are going to switch gears now, throw it over to Frank Granito, and get a look at the forecast. Frank.
Thank you, Kate. And unfortunately, it is mostly cloudy out right now, and it looks like that might be the way it will be for the next couple of days. Humidity on the way as well. More clouds than sun today, and there is a chance for some passing showers later on this afternoon. Temperatures in the mid to high 70s, but that number is going to feel more like 85, 86 with about 65–70% humidity today. Looking towards tonight, we're going to see mostly overcast skies. There's going to be more passing showers and a chance of a thunderstorm or two carrying into Friday morning. Friday, a lot of the same, plenty of clouds in the forecast again, humid, and some early showers are expected. Temperatures around 78, but it's going to feel more like 90. Humidity levels around 80% tomorrow. Should clear up by tomorrow night, though. Still a little humid out, and we'll see humid out and patchy clouds in the evening and overnight. Saturday, humid again, variable cloud cover throughout the day. Temperatures in the mid to high 70s, and Saturday night, partly cloudy, mid 60s as your low. Humid and cloudy, Kate.
I just thought you were that doing the weather that you can shorten words like humid now. I thought,
no, unfortunately, no.
All right, well, we are going to step out for a break, and when we come back, Donald Ang will take a look back on this day in history. Frank has your Nutmeg Sports Update, and there's more local news after this.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 3 locations. The iPark Building at 761 Main Avenue, Norwalk, 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien, or in the Westport Medical Center at 323 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Go to coastalorthoct.com. Like them on Facebook.
At the office of Dr. David Oshiro of Darien, we provide high-quality and personalized orthodontic treatment in a professional and caring environment. We make treatment fun for our young patients and believe it's never too late to have a healthy and beautiful smile. Call now for an appointment and find out more at droshiro.com.
The leaves are changing, water temps dropping, and the sun is setting a little earlier each day. But there's still a lot of great boating, fishing, and coast time left before we see the first snow. And above all, remember, it's always summer at the Dock Shop. With loads of new fishing tackle and accessories, clothing, jewelry, and home decor, the Dock Shop is just what you need when you start to feel that New England autumn chill. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
I'm Tracy Masella, a licensed clinical social worker at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. Join me each month as we talk with experts on the front lines of the treatment of mental health and addiction. Straight Talk with Tracy, a Silver Hill Hospital production, airs at 12 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month here on the HAN network.
Welcome back to this September 14th edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. Time to take a look back on this day in history with Donald Ang. Don, what do you have for us today?
Well, Kate, it was a sports moment that had nothing to do with money, believe it or not. But anyway, first though, 1741, George Frederick Handel completes the oratorio, Messiah. Now, Handel said he wrote it in He wrote the 259-page work in 24 days, which would have required him to write 15 notes per minute, 10 hours a day. Interesting Messiah facts, it's not an opera, although it sounds like one. It's 53 separate pieces spread over 3 parts. It's also not written as a Christmas piece, though it's typically performed in December. Only the first part deals with the Christmas story. There's also no definitive version, as Handel reworked it continually based on the talents of the orchestra he was working with. And there is no record of King George II attending a performance. So the tradition of standing during the Hallelujah chorus because the king did is almost certainly not true. Think of the standing ovation as a 7th-inning stretch, since it occurs 2/3 of the way through a 3-hour performance. To 1960, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, also known as OPEC, is founded in Baghdad. Originally consisting of Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela, the cartel now consists of 14 nations and controls an estimated 73% of the world's known oil reserves. 1975, the first American-born saint, Elizabeth Ann Seton, canonized by Pope Paul VI. Now, Seton was a devout Episcopalian until her husband died while the family was in Italy, and she then converted to Catholicism with his family. Seton founded the Sisters of Charity, an American religious order. She also founded a school, though not the one you think. Seton founded St. Joseph's Academy in Maryland. Seton Hall was founded by her nephew, who named it after her. Finally, now we go to 1994 in New York for this.
Continue to do business as usual. I'm all fascinated by the still portrayal of the greedy owners versus the greedy players. That's not what this was about, and that's not what this is about. Now that
we have diverging opinions in the studio on Bud Selig there, but there you have it. Bud Selig says greed absolutely not an issue in canceling the 1994 Major League Baseball season. Now, the season was canceled due to a strike, the first major sport in the world to lose an entire postseason. The strike also disrupted the 1995 season. Numerous issues at stake, but the biggest was that the owners wanted a salary cap to limit what the players could be paid. Remember, though, greed was not a factor. That is your look back in history for today, September 14th, and I'm Donald Eng.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, in other local news, expecting a big crowd for Darien's first football game under the new field lights, police there have issued a safety advisory. The Darien Police Department will enforce traffic regulations and monitor security for Darien High School's first football game to be held on Friday, September 15th, first night game, rather. Now, all traffic will enter the DHS campus from Norotan Avenue, High School Lane, and Nutmeg Lane will be closed to incoming traffic. Spectators are strongly urged to carpool as parking at the high school is limited. Now, due to the large number of vehicles expected, parking regulations and designated tow-away zones will be strictly enforced, police say. A handicap permit is required to park in the limited handicap parking spaces available, and when parking capacity has reached its peak, Norotan Avenue Extension will be closed to all traffic. Now, bags, backpacks, and coolers will also be subject to inspection, and spectators will not be allowed to bring bottles into the game. But there's a lot more on that at DarienTimes.com. Let's throw it back over to Frank Granito now for a Nutmeg Sports Update. Frank.
Should be a very exciting night at Darien as well, their first football game under the lights. We were under the lights yesterday afternoon as we got some of that partly cloudy sky cover. At New Canaan High School, the Wilton Warriors, defending FCX champions in field hockey, taking on the Rams. New Canaan surprisingly coming into this game 1-0 while the Warriors were 0-1. That all changed by the end of yesterday afternoon. Wilton rolls past New Canaan 3-0. The final, they got an early goal from Molly Thomas, assisted by Olivia Hahn, just over 3 minutes into this game. That would be all the Warriors would need, but they'd add on a couple more. Emma Rothkopf was assisted by Molly Thomas, scoring the game's second goal with 9:57 remaining in the half. And then in the second half, Emma Rosen broke through for the third and final goal. Megan Kyer had 4 saves for the Warriors. Emily Gaeta and Caitlin Fico split the game in half for the Rams. They each had 3 saves. We'll have highlights of this game for you later on this afternoon on Nutmeg Sports. Looking at some of the other field hockey action from yesterday, Bethel and McMahon played to a scoreless tie at 1-1 through the overtime period. Ridgefield, a big 4-0 win over Fairfield Ward. Also worth noting from yesterday's action in volleyball, Greenwich 3-0. They shut out Darien. Ludlow wins in 5 sets, 3-2 versus Staples, and New Canaan blanking Norwalk 3-0. We'll have more on all of Wednesday's actions this afternoon at Nutmeg Sports. John Kovach will also join Kevin Coleman and myself. We will preview this weekend's football slate for all the FCIAC games. That's going to do it for this Nutmeg Sports update. Let's send it back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. Well, a veteran state trooper will soon be overseeing the Weston Police Department. Edward Hennian has accepted an offer from the Weston Police Commission to serve as the next police chief. He replaces former police chief John Troxell, who retired in February. Now, there will be a swearing-in ceremony for the new chief on Monday at 3 p.m. in the meeting room at Weston Town Hall. A 26-year veteran of the Connecticut State Police, Lieutenant Colonel Hennian served most recently in the Office of Professional Standards and Support Services. Now, he has experience running a department and was previously the commanding officer of Troop B in North Canaan. Now, during his career with the state police, he was also a commanding officer of the Labor Relations Unit, and he served in the Motor Vehicle Fraud Task Force and as the chief of staff to the Lieutenant Colonel and Commissioner. You can get more at thewestonforum.com. And a nighttime milling and resurfacing project will be performed on a 3.81-mile section of Route 1 in Darien, and that begins tonight, and it will last through Friday, October 13th. Now, the State Department of Transportation says work hours there will be 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., and motorists can expect some lane closures on Route 1 north of the Stamford Town Line to the Norwalk Town Line. Traffic control personnel and signing patterns will be used to guide motorists through the work zones, and again, those regular work hours will be 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. Sunday through Thursday. You can get more at thedarientimes.com. We're going to step out for a break, and when we come back, John Kovach joins me to preview our front pages this week after this.
At Pamby Motors, we're not worried about being the biggest dealership. We're focused on being the best. We're dedicated to giving you the best experience we can. The Pamby Motors team is here to help you choose the right Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram in a friendly, pressure-free environment. And right now, during the summer clearance event, you'll find some of our best prices too. Like this lease on a 2017 Ram Quad Cab Express for $149 a month. Visit Pamby Motors, Route 7 in Richfield, PambyZone.com.
CT City Lacrosse is dedicated to the growth of lacrosse for youth and high school players. Directed by Stanford High head coach Mike Nazaro, we help players reach full potential on and off the field. With an indoor facility in Stanford, we offer year-round training, camps, clinics, and private instruction. Visit ctcitylax.com for more.
At Budget Blinds, we're in business to frame the light, the day, and the night. So we give you an exclusive combination of high style, expert service, our no surprises pricing, and our no questions asked warranty. We believe that everyone, at every budget, deserves style and service. Isn't that a beautiful place to be?
New Canaan Foreign Car. Yes, New Canaan Foreign Car has been servicing all makes of foreign cars for over 50 years. We also buy, sell, and consign cars too. We can help you with all your automotive needs from service to sales. Call us at 203-966-2681.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, joined now by our editorial director, John Kovach, to preview our front pages this week. John, what are you looking at first?
I'm looking at a patriotic front page of the Wilton Bulletin with some great pictures by Brian Hafley of the Connecticut United ride as it passed through Wilton. And Jeanette Ross got some very nice photos. They did a flag retirement ceremony at the American Legion post in Wilton. Very patriotic ceremony there. No rush to change the closing time for liquor stores, and a denial of a moratorium on age-restricted housing. Kate, what are you looking at?
All right, well, I'm taking a look at the Ridgefield Press this week. Kind of interesting story by Mac Reed about how some Ridgefielders concerned about sign pollution. Maybe too many signs in the downtown area, yield signs, pedestrian crossing signs, etc. So interesting story there. Also, Ridgefield holding its 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony this week, and the Board of Education arguing over school start time. That just continues on. That's a big issue there in Ridgefield. And some swift condemnation for a swastika incident at Ridgefield High School. Unfortunately, not the first time that kind of graffiti showed up at Ridgefield High. It was recently found on a table there. More on that story. And RHS grad teaching kids how to code. That's in the Ridgefield Press this week.
In Monroe, the Chamber of Commerce will host a debate among the 3 candidates for first selectman. That'll be held on September 27th. You can read more in the Monroe Courier. Planning and Zoning is considering a request for a catering facility that would be at the Jenny's Pizzeria location, and plans already underway for the Sprint for Monroe, which will be held next June. Money raised there goes to charity.
All right, taking a look at the Reading pilot this week, a great photo by Brian Hafley of the Connecticut United Ride event over the past weekend, and also some primary results in Reading. In the Democratic primary, Ed Miller edging out incumbent Mark Lewis for a Board of Finance nomination there. And on the GOP side, Laura Hoeing and John Riley turned back a challenge from petitioning candidate Chris Parkin for the Board of Education. Now, also in the Reading pilot, Umpqua Schoolhouse restoration completed.
In Milford, they held a ceremony to mark the 16th anniversary of the terrorist attacks of 9/11. Touching photo there of the military and firefighters saluting that, held at Platt Tech. A hearing coming up on September 19th on the proposal to build apartments on West Avenue. The state looking into what's killing deer. Hasn't been down here yet, but in Portland there is a disease that is making the rounds through the deer population. And another state rep weighs in, scolding Milford city leaders for their vote on affordable housing.
All right, taking a look at the Shelton Herald this week, 9/11 heroes honored in Derby at their September 11th memorial there. I know another story we spoke about on Coffee Break, and that's a Shelton man badly burned in a garage explosion. There is a GoFundMe page set up now by his friends to help cover those medical expenses. Also, community members extending a helping hand to those affected by Hurricane Harvey. And a couple of police items that we've talked about previously, but a substitute teacher arrested for trespassing on school grounds, and a very bizarre police story where a man was arrested for allegedly framing his daughter's boyfriend for armed robbery.
In New Canaan, you have the arrest of a New Canaan resident for an incident in Stamford in which a 5-year-old boy nearly drowned. Miraculously, that boy is doing very well, based on latest reports. The Board of Finance has to approve another $800,000 for the field renovation. These are all-purpose fields near New Canaan High School that are being renovated, a ceremony to honor the anniversary of 9/11, and a shopping event bringing people to downtown New Canaan.
All right, well, taking a look at the Trumbull Times, of course, more on the CT United ride that is organized by Trumbull resident Fred Garrity. And unfortunately, a story we just spoke about in Trumbull, a driver was actually cited for disrupting that annual United ride, pulling out into traffic, causing one motorcyclist to go off the road and needing to be sent to the hospital. Also, a big story in Trumbull this week, that was a fugitive arrested while working at the Trumbull Fall Festival. More on that in the Trumbull Times. First Selectman Tim Herp seeking to close a projected budget gap. And Vicky Tesoro, who's running for First Selectman, saying hold off on replacing a Parks and Recreation Director. And of course, some photos from the big victory for the St. Joseph Cadets last Friday against New Canaan. Of course, we had that game live on the HAN network.
And some great shots by Dave Stewart, as usual, right there, and getting some phenomenal sports shots there from the St. Joe's victory. Stratford, a story you brought us yesterday. Kate, Laura Hoydick and Stephanie Phillips winning the respective primaries. Looks like a 4-way race for mayor of Stratford. That should be interesting. Laura Hoydick also making a case that Stratford would be a good location for the Amazon headquarters that they're looking to build. Stratford always has a very well-attended 9/11 ceremony at the Veterans of Foreign Wars post and a discussion of a medical marijuana facility.
All right, well, taking a look at the Easton Courier this week, interesting, a historical flag, the Historical Society, rather, receives a storied American flag. It actually only has 35 stars on it, not 50, and there's a whole story there kind of about that flag. Also, an uplifting message rings out at the Barlow 9/11 ceremony. Easton Parks Director announces his retirement, and a climbing wall is the new activity at Staples Elementary School.
We have our Golden Years special section this week, but first let me do the Weston Forum.
It looks good, though, doesn't it?
We'll stay with Golden Years. Well, let's go to the Weston Forum. Sorry, Mike.
We're confusing Mike a lot
Sorry,
today.
Mike. Story that you've brought us, Weston hiring a new police chief, debate over a dog park in Weston, the opening of a playground honoring Victoria McGrath, and highlights of a busy weekend in Weston.
All right, well, taking a look at the Darien Times, Board of Education and Administrator continue talks on FOI requests there. Public hearing upcoming for the Master Parks Plan draft. Neighbors pushing for some traffic control and safety on the Post Road. Also a nice photo from their September 11th remembrances this week. And a concert in Tilley Park raising money for a local family. That in the Darien Times this week.
Now can we talk about Golden Years?
Yes, let's talk
Golden
about
Years
it.
talks about road trips up to Vermont and northern Connecticut. Senior volunteer opportunities, and New Canaan's Aging in Place initiative.
All right, so those are the front pages this week, John. I know we have Yankee Fisherman coming up at 1 o'clock today.
We will get you ready for two big events coming up next weekend. That is Connecticut Hunting and Fishing Day. That's sponsored by the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and some other agencies. And the Source to Sea cleanup, it's a 4-state effort to clean the Connecticut River.
All right, and coming up at noon today, we have a brand new episode of Straight Talk with Tracy, a Silver Hill Hospital production. She's going to be joined by Dr. Christopher Cutter to talk about chronic pain, and September is Pain Awareness Month. So really great episode coming up at noon today. Of course, 2 o'clock, Nutmeg Sports. No coffee break tomorrow because we're going to be getting ready for tomorrow night's football game. We're going to be at Norwalk High School, and the Norwalk Bears are going to be taking on the West Hill Vikings. The game starts at 7. FCX Tailgate starts at 5, so you can catch us then. And we'll see you Monday for your coffee break at 11. Have a great day.